Hi, this is Jedi Amanda. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know how you can design and win your very own Bernina Dream Studio. Just check out berninasweepstakes.com. When I designed mine, I had to have that foot tower in there. See for yourself. It was super cool. And get in today to win Bernina's Dream Studio $100,000 giveaway at berninasweepstakes.com. Dream it, design it, win it.
Welcome to So-and-So, brought to you by Bernina, made to create. I'm Meg Goodman, and you're about to enjoy a casual conversation with a special member of the Sewist community. A conversation about how they got started, what inspires them, what excites them, and their connection to this community. Our guest today is Yaya Han, the world-renowned cosplay designer. Yaya was born and grew up in China, where at an early age she became fascinated by manga and anime, Japanese graphic comics and animation featuring characters with superpowers. When her family moved to Germany, Yaya lost her connection to the world of fantasy. In 1998, while still a teen, she immigrated to the U.S. on her own to start a new life. Soon after that, with a $40 used sewing machine and a pile of thrift store fabric, Yaya stitched together a costume and entered the world of cosplay, attending her first anime convention in California. Yaya had a talent for design and sewing, and soon made a name for herself in the budding community with cosplay contest wins and awards. Eventually, others asked her to make costumes for them, so in 2005, she and her then boyfriend, now husband, Brian, whom she met at Dragon Con, set up a website to take costume orders. Today, Yaya is a successful cosplay designer, model, author, TV personality, and influencer with more than 3 million followers across her website, blog, and social media platforms. We are at Bernina University 2023 in Dallas, and we are in the middle of the Merchant Mall, and we have an opportunity today to sit down with Yaya Han. Yaya, welcome to So-and-So.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
There is a lot we're going to talk about, a lot I know our listeners want to know about you. Mm-hmm. You are a very public persona in the cosplay world, and now you are partnering with Bernina Burnett, and we're going to talk about that, all kinds of fun stuff.
So exciting.
But I want to go back to the beginning. Mm-hmm. How did you learn how to sew?
I learned how to sew out of necessity when I discovered cosplay. And that was 24 years ago. Mm-hmm. 1999. And back then, of course, if you wanted a costume, you had to make it. There was no option to buy it, especially if it was a character from a Japanese manga or anime. And so I learned how to sew on a $40 used sewing machine, and my friend taught me, in a couple weeks leading up to the first convention I would go to, which was Anime Expo 1999 in Anaheim, California. And I made a costume. I, had to learn how to read a pattern and sew an outfit from a pile of fabric. And then it somehow held up, shockingly.
And your equipment has changed since then dramatically, I'm assuming, from that $40 sewing machine.
Absolutely. I did, it's like, when I started, I was, still a fresh immigrant from Germany, of all places, but I didn't have much money. I couldn't even go to college, so it was like sewing and cosplay was my outlet, and I would go to thrift stores and buy clothes and cut them up to use for fabrics, and or dollar, just really like the cheapest materials that you can imagine. And so for the first several years, I used very rudimentary machines. I think I had like a $200 Kenmore for a while that I bought at Sears, and then eventually I think I ended up with a $500, I think it was like the Project Runway Brother or something. And it had like embroidery capabilities. It was like the saddest, with a tiny, tiny hoop. I never used the embroidery features because for cosplay, you need like much bigger areas to embroider on. So, but it was like, the machine that I had for probably the longest and sewed the most costumes on it until 2017 when I became a Bernina ambassador and they sent me a 580 and my life just completely changed. Oh my goodness. I was like, how did I ever sew on anything other than a Bernina before? So then I became an expert for the 590 machine and I was here at BU in 2018 to help unveil the 590. And so they sent me one of those as well. And so for, the last 5 years, I've been sewing on Berninas until the Burnett collaboration came to be last year.
And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yaya, can you describe your style?
My style, are you talking about fashion style? Okay, so I think like I have kind of two different styles in me. Sometimes I like to be very feminine. I like to wear dresses and, do my makeup very soft. But then there are other times where I really like streetwear, like the Korean-inspired streetwear. And I kind of just like wearing more baggier clothes and athletic wear. And I think like after a long day in costume, if I have to like rip a wig off and I have horrible wig hair, I feel really the most comfortable in something, more streetwear related with a dad cap on. And that. So yeah, for some reason, those are like my two styles.
When you were young, you became fascinated with anime. What was it about it that interested you?
Complete escapism, just fantasy world. I think I've always had an interest for even like ancient myths and like I love the Greek mythology and the Egyptian mythology and such. And so I think anime and manga was just a extension of that, just like escaping to a fantasy world. I always read lots of young adult fiction, and so I, for the longest time, would draw characters. So I was like a fan artist and would draw anime and manga characters, even like designed my own and created my own. And I loved drawing clothes on them, like fantastical outfits on my characters. And so I don't know, like as teenager me, there was maybe a premonition eventually that I would go on to design clothes, but I had no idea at the time because I didn't know how to sew. And really, it wasn't until I discovered cosplay and saw pictures of other people dressing up as those characters that I would draw that I realized, oh my gosh, you can be the characters? You don't have to just like draw them? What? So I think that was a very natural, progression that I immediately became obsessed with cosplay.
So you were born in China and you moved to Germany, and you said that when you were there, you felt alone in your fandom. So as a teenager, you moved by yourself to the United States.
Yes, my parents were not happy about that.
So what was that like, and how was the fandom culture different? What happened when you moved here?
Oh, so I was in Germany in like the 90s, and so anime and manga was still really underground, and people just kind of didn't quite know what to make of it. And so, because I had family in China, I would go back to China every summer and watch anime there, read manga there, and bring manga back. And so that was like so important to me and such a big part of my life. But then no one else around me in Germany shared that, they just didn't know. All the manga was in Chinese. And so when I went to America, I was only supposed to be here for a year as an exchange student, but I like enrolled in choir, like musical theater, and I, was of course in the art class and immediately became like pretty well known within the art circle, like just at my, high school. There was like, who is this girl that can like sing as well as draw? And I also found a local anime club in the city that I was doing the exchange program in. And so once I found the anime club, it was like, oh my gosh, I found my people. This is, where we like met every week and watched anime, and I would draw and they would just like watch me and be all amazed. And so I just really didn't want to go back to, Germany, cold and dreary Germany where nobody understood me. And so I stubbornly decided to stay. My parents, oh my gosh. It was a really tough time. Like immigrating to the United States at a fairly young age is as difficult as you might imagine, maybe even more difficult. And so I went through the whole system and took years. But really during that time, cosplay was like my lifeline. Truly, conventions and cosplay is what saved my life and gave me a reason to continue this process instead of just tucking tail and going back to Germany, as I could have. But I really enjoyed the convention environment, and I was able to bring fan art that I drew and sell them at the conventions. And I would enter my art in their art shows, and people could bid on them in like a silent auction. And some of my art went for hundreds of dollars, which at the time, I was like barely 19. It was just absolutely insane that people would pay for my art. And then people would commission me to do art. They were like, can you draw this character in this setting and stuff? And so that's kind of how I made money to survive until I found a fairly steady office job. And so that was like the only time I ever held a normal job was at a office doing like data entry for like 3 years, during which I also, of course, cosplayed, still went to conventions, still did art. That didn't last too long because I was like, I want to just go to more conventions. And, there are people asking me now to make costumes for them. It's no longer just art, but they want full costumes made or accessories made. And so that's when in 2005, I quit my job and became a small business independent artist doing like costume, like not even manufacturing, just like, costume making for people.
So you found the courage to do something that was scary. You said it was a tough time.
Very.
What did you do to get through the tough days? How did you dig deep and just move through that?
Well, sewing was so therapeutical, honestly. Making costumes, because like eventually my art gave away to cosplay because there was no time to really do both. You couldn't make costumes and do art, diligently. And my heart chose costuming and sewing. And so, no matter how bad things got, like if I could just, take half a day to make a costume and, sew away at something, that is what I think gave me a lot of peace. And I really think sewing is such good therapy. I tell people all the time, get into sewing. Don't be intimidated by it. It is so therapeutic to just sit there and, the sort of like the sound of the machine as you run the fabric through, and like sort of like the sound the iron makes, the steam, and then you have like this crisp, beautiful seam, and then you can put it on you and it fits you, and it's just amazing. So.
Let's talk about the cosplay community. Obviously, they came around you. They gave you support as well. And the community is one of acceptance and support. And tell us more about that and why that's so important. It's an amazing community.
So yeah, cosplay is a very creative community that also is unique because we're all fans. So we're really passionate fans, and what drives us is the desire to express our fandom. And for, many years as I was like sort of growing up in this community, it was considered something really weird. And even like amongst anime or comic book fans, the people who dressed up, they were considered like the weird ones, you know? And so it's kind of like the people who cosplayed, we all understood that we didn't really belong you know, so that we weren't quite considered normal. And so it was like everyone wanted to help each other and wanted to feel other people feel welcomed in cosplay. And it was very much so about like, you know, you should try this because then you'll understand why we do it and why it's so fun. And I think a lot of people, they until you put on a costume of a character that you have a connection to, you really can't understand what makes it so special. So that's been sort of my mission throughout the years, is to sort of educate people and encourage people, motivate people to give cosplay a try, because it really does, you know, give you so much. It gives you so much fulfillment. So as time went on, the cosplay community became bigger and conventions started to take notice. They started to have more cosplay programming at the convention. So they would ask cosplayers to give panels where we could teach how to sew, how to craft, and how to put costumes together. You know, there are panels about how to cosplay on a budget, how, you know, and others about like how to prepare to enter a contest. And so that really helped the community grow even further, because then like there were more things for cosplayers to do, more things for them to learn. And some of us were able to sort of set ourselves apart as personalities within this fan community, you know. It was like, so I kind of rose from this fan community to become a valued panelist or a valued judge of costume contests. And then I started going to conventions because they invited me, and they you know, wanted me to go work for them, and they were going to pay me and, you know, fly me out and such. And so that is, I think, where I felt like I found footing, and that all the, like, finally I had even more of a reason to go to conventions, you know, because now it became my job, and now wanted to work harder because I could actually earn money with it, but also use my newfound platform to reach more people, you know.
What a dream job.
Yeah, it is.
Now, you've won many contests. Is there any one in particular that stands out for you?
I think, oh my gosh. So probably the best contest was Anime Expo 2001, which of course Anime Expo was my first convention, so it was amazing to enter the contest there because it was like the biggest contest in the country at the time. And my group and I, we created like this Moulin Rouge-esque skit. It was like the year Moulin Rouge came out.
Sure.
So we like did the can and stuff. But we did it as like, you know, anime characters. And it was like we choreographed it. We rehearsed for weeks, you know. It becomes like a miniature theater show. You have about 3 minutes on stage. But then, you know, they'll play the music, they'll like have lighting cues, and you can do whatever. And it's like, it's really exciting because on stage, that's when you truly transform into the character. You know, like you forget that you're you. You really are that character because the crowd is like screaming and clapping for the character. And so it's very exhilarating. It's very fun. And we managed to win the top prize, the Best in Show prize. And I was just very proud.
Conventions are important to you for many reasons. You met your husband at a Dragon Con.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh my God. So Dragon Con is a legendary convention where cosplay has always played a huge role. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. And I met my husband, Brian, there 23 years ago. And he was wearing a Boba Fett costume from Star Wars. And it was a really good Boba Fett costume, but he had, you know, the helmet on and everything. And so I was like, oh, this is a great Boba. In fact, I had already seen pictures of him from other conventions. Like, I was like, not really. I was a little fangirl, maybe. Like I had already, because he made this legendary Boba Fett costume, and so I was like, I already knew about it. And so finally a friend of mine introduced me to him at Dragon Con, and I was like, oh, that's Brian Bowling. He's the Boba Fett. And then he takes his helmet off, and I'm like, oh, he's really cute. And so, yeah, like We've been together for 22 years, and he, of course, has cosplayed with me and made costumes with me. But then, now he sort of runs our small business with me as well. So he travels with me, and it's great.
What's it like to work together?
What's it like to work together? Really awesome 90% of the time, and then there are days where I'm like, oh my gosh,
it's a good thing the 90% is the good part.
Yes, definitely. So but yeah, it is definitely tough to be married and actually own the same business together and having to make decisions together and such. But I think that we definitely, because we've been together for so long, we've been through so much that we do trust each other a lot. And he's a great support for me when I have to be in costume and be on and meeting fans. But then he runs our booths and sells our merchandise, and does all the heavy lifting and such. So,
and he's here at BU with you.
Yes, of course.
It's notable. He takes really good care of you. So that's
absolutely,
that's special.
Yeah, he's looking at us right now.
He is, and people will be able to see some of the pictures and things he's taking on your social media.
Absolutely, yeah. Brian also does most of my photos, and so we really collaborate on the cosplay photo shoots, truly as a team, and where we decide what the set's going to be and the lighting and the setup, and he learned how to do photography for us. He really didn't have an interest in it before, but with cosplay, photos are so important, and I didn't want to have to find a photographer every single time I wanted to take photos of a costume. So I was like, Brian, you're gonna have to learn.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Do you have a favorite cosplay character?
Do I have a favorite? I will say until recently, my answer was always, it's all about the variety. I love being able to be different characters, but recently I got to represent Chun-Li for Street Fighter 6, and just being the experience was so exhilarating, and I have already cosplayed Chun-Li for about 10 years, that now just her as a character, she has become my favorite character to dress up as.
Now, you are a successful designer, model, author, TV personality, and of course, influencer. We were talking about this yesterday. You have more than 3 million total followers.
Yeah, across platforms.
Across platforms. And what did you do to build this and continue to grow your audience? How did you make this happen?
Oh, well, very organically and not calculated at all. Because I cosplayed way before social media was a thing. And in fact, I think the secret of my success is that I've had a website since 2003. And it was because I made a website out of necessity to have a place to showcase the costumes I've made. I was I wanted a portfolio of some sort. So I made a very simple website, but I always kept it up. So over the years, even as the website changed domain names and eventually became yayahan.com, it still continuously had costume photos added to it and new galleries and new sections. And I think that is what really helped me build a name recognition. So then when social media became more of a thing, I, joined the ones that cosplayers would join. So I joined Facebook and Twitter first. Those were the two first ones that lots of cosplayers were joining. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so because I was continuously making new costumes and going to new conventions, it's kind of I had organically new content to post regularly. So it was I didn't strategize, what do I have to post in order to, gain more followers or something. And when Instagram became available, I joined that as well. And Instagram being so photo heavy, it suited itself very well to cosplay. So it just made sense to focus on that. And, it was more fun to post on Instagram because you could post different photos and such. And so really, I think it's the consistency and just me being sort of in the community and being visible is what helped me grow the the following that I have. Nowadays is of course a lot more difficult. You have to really strategize to be able to stand out because there's so many people on social media now. So but I still always suggest for people, like if you want to build a brand or if you want to show off your portfolio, make a website. Websites are still the go-to, I think.
What do you do to stand out? What's your strategy for that?
I think it's just I don't know if I strategize that much on how to stand out. I think I have a variety of costumes I want to make or photo shoots I want to do, and then I really follow my intuition a lot. I really listen to my creative brain of what feels right, and I try to keep people informed. And, if I'm doing something new, I try to share with them not just the final product, but also the process that I took to get there. I also sometimes share mistakes that I've made, because I think people put up a lot of front on social media. I only want to post the best, most amazing content. And, I find that people just want to relate to you and that you actually will have more rapport with your audience if you're more honest and more open with them. And so I think I hope that what makes me stand out is that I'm a genuine person, that I believe in, everything that I post and write about, and that when people meet me, they can see that I'm just another fan who really enjoys being in the space.
Well, you're definitely very real, as evidenced in our conversation. You let people see you as you are. Many fans come to conventions to meet you.
Yes.
Do you have any memorable stories about people that you've met, or one instance that really stands out?
I have so many. I do. I have so many. I will say in the last few years, it really warms my heart when someone comes up in a costume that they've made using my materials, either my fabrics or using a pattern that I designed. Or they come and, made a costume following a tutorial that I posted. And so that really makes me so happy to know that something I did helped them. And I love it when they tell me stories of, they won a contest after coming to a panel of mine that taught them how to prepare for the judging process and what to expect. So that it's just really rewarding. It's like, I don't like being put on a pedestal for people to just look at me. I like connecting with the people, in any industry and sharing what I know. I think that's what makes life fulfilling and worth it. And then I will say there was one incident a few years ago where it was after I was on the Heroes of Cosplay TV show on Sci-Fi. I was at a convention called A-Con in Dallas, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and this, I'm doing autographs, and this mom walks up with her daughter. She was maybe 8 years old, and this girl was she pointed to a picture that she wanted me to sign, and she came and gave me a hug, and she looked at me and smiled at me, and her mom got super emotional, and she told me that her daughter is really autistic and that she for years wouldn't talk to people, wouldn't interact with people, and that she watched the TV show and she saw me on it and for some reason just gravitated towards me, and that it helped her open up. And so before long, she was crying, I was crying, and we're just this mess in front of all these people. But it's things like that, honestly. Sure. Yeah. Kids really just they kill me with how cute they are and how sweet, because they recognize me from the pictures and such, and so it's very sweet.
And you're relatable. You make it safe for them to approach you.
Of course, my gosh.
At Bernina University, Their whole new premise and campaign is it's a big day.
Yes.
Being here is a big day for you all week. Now, I was there when you were on stage yesterday, introducing your new sewing machine with them.
Yes.
Your excitement is just infectious. You can tell how excited you are about this. Would you take us through your relationship with Bernina on how it culminated here with the launch of a new machine? How did you find out you were going to do this, and what was that all like?
Oh my goodness. Yes, it's been multiple big days. Yesterday was a big day. Today is a big day for sure. So I first met Bernina, I think it was like was it C2E2? I think it was C2E2 in Chicago. They were there. I was there as a judge for their Crown Cosplay Championship. Bernina had a booth, and I think we, it's like I walked up and marveled over their sewing machines, and they were like, "Hey, we know who you are." I think whoever was there like had seen the TV show as well, and so they already were like, "Hey, we should work together." So I was like, "What?" And so like, "Yeah, we'll like loan you a sewing machine for a year." And then they let me keep it. Oh my God.
And you became an ambassador.
Yeah, I became an ambassador for them. And so I was like, of course, yeah, I will sew on your sewing machine forever. So I feel like then they reached out to me to be an expert for the 590. So we had a whole process of, I learned the machine, I learned how to embroider with it, and made a whole costume for the campaign. And, went to Switzerland to record the marketing campaign. So, I spent time with Bernina of America as well as Bernina International teams. And then, of course, I came to BU and met everyone. And so I hope I made a good impression because I think it was after that, then maybe the seeds were planted for working together more in the future. In fact, there was a moment I was in the Bernina offices in Switzerland in Steckborn, and I was just like, it would just be so cool if we could develop a cosplay machine.
They listened to you.
No, they were like, we don't think there's a market for that. We're not so sure. They're like, they kind of humored me and brushed it off. It was just kind of a little moment, but I think that is when the dream kind of was planted in me. Kind of wow, wouldn't it, these machines are so cool, but I wish that they did this, or I wish they came with these features, or they came with these embroidery designs. And so that kind of was maybe planted in my head, but still very not realistic. It was just truly just a pipe dream. And so then out of nowhere, Claudia from Bernina International emails me last year, and she's like, "Hey, we would like to make a sewing machine with you." And they she had bulletins and things that they wanted. They were ready, and it was I started crying when I saw that email. I did, because it was so apparent to me that it was they were ready. It was the time has finally come. It's now, it's been 4 years later. 4 years later, whatever it is, the seed that I planted or whatever, just this thought that was in my head now became a real possibility, because it was not a, "Hey, we'd like to work with you more." It was a, "We want to do this machine. We're thinking this time. This is the timeline. Do you want to do it?" Wow. And so from the beginning, it's been a really amazing collaboration, because I think their team, they knew me already. It's not the first time we met, and we'd already worked together. They knew I was going to reply to their emails on time, and that, I grew up in Germany. I'm very I think we meshed very well vibe-wise. And so then I, of course, have had more experience since then in the sewing space, and I'm no one knows this market better than me. I know exactly what cosplayers want and what they need and what's missing. And so we were, I think, all very confident, and we, I felt comfortable sharing all my ideas with them. And of course, I asked for the moon, at the beginning. I asked for all these different things, and they would like come back and be like, well, that's not quite realistic, or that would add a year to the development. And then I had enough experience in the, product development space that I could be like, okay, understand, let's pivot and do this other thing. So I think that's why we were so efficient and were able to develop the machine pretty fast, all things considering. And that is truly I credit the Burnett team in Steckborn, especially Lee Dan, just completely took charge and was so open to my ideas, but also so realistic. And it was really cool because she's Chinese, I'm Chinese. We both speak German as well, and it was just sort of really we just meshed really well, I think. And so really with Lee and with Carolyn's guidance, I think we just knocked this machine out, and I'm just so proud of it.
Now, there are some pretty special features on this machine that you influenced.
Yes.
Tell us about those.
Yeah, so the base machine is the Burnett B79, which is their top of the line. They have never done a special edition machine before, and they, their goal was to introduce a special edition, but also maybe gain a new customer base, and also to broaden the Burnett name, because I think that Burnett's are just not as well known to the average sewist, and I completely agree that it's if I can help their name to get out there more, I want to. So for me, I thought the base machine was at a good price range, and the thing is for cosplayers, any machine over $2,000 is considered expensive. It is a different customer base. Cosplayers are a lot younger and have lower income bracket, but I thought that if we put enough features in it, that it would be totally worth it. And so they first sent me a Burnett B79, and I tested it out and made a costume with it. And during my test, I definitely was all right, this can handle the thicker materials. I could put it through some work, but then I also sewed some really delicate materials with it. Of course, I embroidered with it, and so I was all right, that gave me lots of ideas of what we could do with it. And so what we are super excited about with the machine is first the colors and the look of the machine. It's very pretty. It's has a futuristic and modern wrap on it.
And you designed that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I designed it with the Burnett team together, but I definitely talked to them about the colors, and we decided on the colors, and we decided that it wouldn't be called any a cosplay machine, that it should be my name, because while I represent cosplay, I also am in fashion and in other areas, and that way we would not have a machine that would be only limited to cosplay, you know what I mean? And so I think that was a great decision. And then the feature I'm the most proud of with this machine is that we were able to include the Creator 9 software. And that was definitely a little bit of a journey. That was not going to be, in the packaging at first, and I fought for it. And I'm so glad I did. And they explained to me, that, it's not like the software is free. It would cut into the cost of the machine for them. And, are we okay with that? And as I said, I think it's really worth it. It's sure, we make a little less money on the machine, but it's so worth it to include the software, because cosplayers and fashion sewists, we need to be able to digitize. Like just using software on a machine is not enough, especially when you can only resize embroideries by 20%. Like you must be able to go into the software and create your own. In costuming, every character has different specific custom design. You can't just use something that kind of looks like it. It has to be exact, you know? That's what people want. And so it's like really rare for a sewing machine of that price range to come with a powerful digitizing software. It usually is like, okay, it's like, you know, a little tiny module that will let you do one thing and or you have to pay for it, you know? And the software is not cheap. It's over $1,000, you know? So, but I really think that the hurdle so far for many cosplayers for not getting into embroidery is because of the cost of the machine and the software. Because you have to commit. You have to like not only commit to buying this machine, you know, with your hard-earned money, but you also have to commit to buying the software and then learning how to use the software and like the software. And so I think that aspect is what held a lot of people back. So I thought about like, what would make me want to buy an embroidery machine? I want the software. And so I was like, if I think this way, you know, cosplayers elsewhere will also think this way. So that was my whole pitch to them. And so based on that, once we agreed that the Creator 9 software would be included, then it was about, I wanted like as many new embroidery designs loaded on the machine as possible. Because like there are tons of beautiful designs, but they're meant for, you know, special occasions, you know, celebrating Christmas or celebrating the birth of a niece or nephew or somebody. But I wanted like garment making embellishments, you know, things you can put on clothes and on costumes. And so I did definitely a lot of work with them in designing, choosing, and curating exclusive designs. So we have 68 of them on there.
It's a game changer. I think we're going to see a lot of that out there.
Yeah, definitely. And then last but not least, the presser feed, just knowing that many cosplayers, like they will buy maybe one or two presser feet, but they just don't know how easy, you know, their life would be if they had this special presser foot and such. So I think for us to be able to include 8 additional presser foot that, you know, it adds such huge value to the machine and for the customer. It's going to like teach them faster, better ways to make costumes.
Tell us about your book.
My book. So yeah, a lot of what I talked about, like my story of coming to America and, you know, how I became who I am in cosplay, I chronicled in my book. So back in, I think 2017, I was approached by a publisher and they wanted me to do a cosplay crafting book. But I was like, there are so many crafting books out there already pertaining to cosplay as well as costuming. And I thought that the uniqueness about me is that I sort of have this lived through experience of being in the community, and no one could really tell this story, you know, from the lens that I could. So I wanted to, you know, devote my time to writing a book about the culture of cosplay told through my story. So it's kind of like a autobiography, but it goes into, you know, the different aspects of cosplay, how it became what it is, what makes us tick, why do we dress up, what are the different ways that people express themselves. And one section is about the industry of cosplay, how it went from a hobbyist space into like a commercial industry. And so I talk about, you know, my experiences starting to monetize cosplay, the different things I did. I have like a career chapter with tips and tricks of, you know, how if you want to become a professional cosplayer, here, you know, some information for you.
So it's a good read for people active in cosplay or people who want to learn more about cosplay?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think for people active in cosplay, it's like a great trip down memory lane because I'm like, back in the day, we did not have good fabrics. We had to use, costume satin,
And they'll remember that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so like that's really fun. But then for people who want to get into cosplay but aren't quite sure, then this really will prepare them fully
Sure.
for like encountering, like entering this community. And I like to say this is also a great book for parents. Like if they're worried about their teenager getting into cosplay, like what is this thing that they're getting into? Like read my book. You'll understand why they want to do it and what the space is going to look like, that they're entering.
What's the name of your book?
My book is called Yaya Han's World of Cosplay. Publisher choice of name, not mine. But there was like, we need your name in the title. And so I'm like, okay.
Well, people will know it's your book now and they can
Yes,
can
it's
look
definitely
for that.
my book. And it is available wherever books are sold. Barnes & Noble, definitely on Amazon and other outlets. And then I do have copies on my website that if you buy from me, I will sign it.
Awesome. You're busy. You've written a book, designed a sewing machine, you travel, you design. What do you do for fun besides sewing?
Besides sewing, what do I do for fun? I do like traveling. So in some ways, like I always try to build extra days whenever I have to travel for a convention because I really enjoy, seeing the world and really grateful to cosplay because it's actually made me be able to see my mom more often back in Germany because she's still there. And now that I do European conventions, they'll invite me and I will always build in an extra week that I can visit her and, or she comes to the city that I'm at. Like she went to Prague in May to meet me and we spent 3 days in Prague before I did a convention in the Czech Republic. And it was just, that is what's truly amazing to me. And aside from that, I still really enjoy watching anime. It's like very relaxing to me. And so I still consume. I play video games sometimes. But you're right, I'm very busy. And so it's like I do put a lot of my time towards my work because it's my passion as well.
Yes. What inspires you?
Everything. Just what can I learn? What can I make that I haven't made yet? What kind of an image can I create? In like a high-end photo shoot. What kind of photo set can I build? I'm definitely driven by creativity. I always have been. I've always been driven by my imagination, and so there's like no shortage of things that I want to do. But I also really enjoy making plans with friends to do costumes together, meeting them at conventions. And so that also, it's just like sort of the social aspect of cosplay really makes me happy.
What's next for you? What's your dream?
What is that? Well, this is a huge dream. Having my own sewing machine is a bigger dream than I ever could have dreamed.
Sure.
Sure. At the moment, I think I'm gonna just sort of enjoy this accomplishment and also ensure the success of the rollout of the machine. So I will support the machine with content on my channels and educational information and just telling people more about it and what all they can do with it. So I'm still riding on my current dream, and I'm sure I will have another dream soon. But I currently am very happy with this one.
And this dream will last. Quite a while.
I would like to think so. Absolutely. I can't wait to see what people will make with the machine. I'm so excited for friends and other cosplayers to get into embroidering. And it's just like I'm so just stoked to see what they're gonna figure out and create and do. So
I hear an invitation to share creations with you.
Yes, please. If you get my machine and you make something with it, please share it with me. We can create a hashtag even, Yaya Han machine or I don't know what, Yaya Han Burnett. But Yeah, I certainly like that. That is always the thing. Like whenever I release new fabrics or release a new pattern, like what I'm the most excited about is hopefully 6 months down the road, I will see someone who will have made something with it. It's really that is what inspires me too.
We've talked about a lot of things today. Mm-hmm. Is there any question I didn't ask you that you wish I had?
I honestly, the only thing that I maybe want to end on is that I hope that the sewing community can embrace cosplay as much as cosplay has embraced sewing. I think there is maybe a little misconception that cosplay and, like fandom are for younger people and people who like consume this material all the time that are gamers or, and it's like, it's not. Like the fandom space is open to everyone, and there is something that we all relate to. Like here at BU, I see people wearing dresses they made with like Bernina printed fabrics, or Hawaiian shirts with like sewing feet all over them, and like people are dressing up to represent what they love, which is Bernina. So it's the same at a comic book convention or at an anime convention. People come dressed in outfits that they made that just have elements of the characters. They don't always dress up in full outfits. They sometimes do like the Disney bounding thing, where like they make a like a simple fashion outfit, but it has a Pokemon on it, or whatever, a Star Wars element to it. And so like we all share this, we have the same brain. Like we really like we as humans want to express ourselves and want to show what we love. And so we're already doing the same thing, just in different spaces. So I really hope that the sewing community can maybe take the time to research the cosplay community a little bit, maybe read my book, and definitely I encourage everyone to go to a convention. Just go to a convention near you. I guarantee there are anime or comic conventions in your area, and just go for a day and see what it's like. And it's a vibrant, great world that shares a lot in common, for sure.
Those that are listening and sitting with us today, I'm sure will want to reach out to you. What's the best way for them to do that?
Definitely through my website, yayahan.com. That's where you'll find all the things I've done, all the costumes I've made, and everything all the events I will be at coming up. And then my social media is primarily Yaya Han, just on Instagram and Facebook. No, on Facebook is Yaya Cosplay. So on Instagram and Twitter it's Yaya Han, and then on Facebook is Yaya Cosplay. But I'm pretty easy to find. So, and I do post regularly every day, and I would love to hear from everybody.
It's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much, Meg.
Well, there you have it. Another story about someone just like you. Someone for whom sewing and quilting is so much more than a hobby. It's a way of life. It's a connection to something bigger. If you know someone you think has an outstanding story, a story that should be shared on this podcast, please drop me a note to meg@soandsopodcast.com, or just complete the form on our website. Be sure to subscribe to, review, and rate this podcast on your favorite platform, and visit our website, soandsopodcast.com, for more information about today's and all of our guests. That's SEWANDSO podcast.com. And finally, I want to thank Bernina for making this program possible. I'm Meg Goodman, and I look forward to you joining us next time on So and So.